Tuesday, August 26th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. It's gardening day, folks. Today on the show, we'll chat about drought impacts, but there's also some rain outside the studio here. We'll talk late August gardening, look ahead to the fall season. The lines are open for questions and thoughts on your grow season. So those numbers, in case you don't know them, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. Text us. And I see there's already a text in, so thanks for that. Text us, 709-327-8206. Emails, thesignal@cbc.ca. And for the texts and emails, people lately have been including pics, which is a great help as well. Not completely necessary, but all worth a thought. And also, we love the calls, love the chats. It can be you're looking for tips or just to talk, from the drought conditions to this rain for the Avalon Peninsula today. Right across Newfoundland and Labrador. If you're gardening, you want to talk to us about how the grow season has been for you. We're here. We're here for this. And by we, I mean myself and Tim Walsh, nursery manager of the MUN Botanical Garden. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Adam. Thanks.
Thanks for coming in.
It's great to be in. Yeah.
Yeah. We because we had some delays, obviously, around. We pushed into wildfire coverage for a couple of weeks, so you were one of the guests scheduled for that. But here you are today. It's so great to have you back in.
Yeah. It's nice to be back in, and this rain, boy, I've never seen so many people happy about rain before in Newfoundland. It's really a really welcome event, really. I've seen people on social media, friends on social media, just showing videos of rain falling. It's just you never thought you'd see people that happy about rain. But it was one of the driest summers we've ever had, and of course with the wildfires, the rain is always a welcome because that would do so much a greater effort at suppressing fire than some of the other efforts because. Mother Nature just when it rains, it's just got such broad coverage and it falls everywhere, and I'm sure that's welcome for the spots that still have fire. So that's really nice to see. And the gardens are just. I imagine if gardens sang, they'd be out there singing today for sure. Because it's just so nice, and you can see it out in the garden. Everything is kind of nice and shiny, and the leaves are really this lovely lush color, and the soil is soaking it up. Yes, I think when it first started to rain, when soil's super dry like that, when it first started to rain, there's a lot of runoff because the soil has to slowly start to kind of become more absorbent again. Because when it dries up, it becomes very hard caked, and the first bit of water that hits that almost like runs off of it or bounces off of it and runs very quickly.
Yeah, this is the problem with climate change, right? Because because climate change makes it for the way it's kind of and correct me on this, but I'm trying to remember. For the way it has altered our water system. So it takes longer for it to rain with the retention for humidity and moisture in the air and for it to turn into raindrops. And because of that, things become drier for longer. And then when it does rain, like you're saying, the soil's already too dry to retain it and you get flooding sometimes.
Get lots of flooding, exactly, yeah. And so, you get a lot of runoff. And so, yes, it runs off into the rivers very quickly. Which is great for the larger bodies of water, like for the lakes and things like that. But in terms of the garden itself, it takes a bit more for the rain to actually start to penetrate that top level and start to soak up that moisture and then start to draw it down into the soil and deeper down into the soil. So it just takes a bit more time. So we're definitely welcoming this bit of rain that we had last night. And it was a nice, significant rain. It rained pretty heavy for pretty much throughout the night and into the morning. It stopped now. But it'd be nice to get a little bit more of that now. I always, wished for, but of course it's not a wish that can ever be granted. But I would love if it rained at night when we're in bed and then the sun shone in the daytime. Yeah, the perfect conditions. But we'll take it whenever it comes when we're this dry. So it was very welcome to see it and hope we get a little bit more.
I love the smell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's something about it. It's very fresh, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can smell the earth. It seems. It's because there's no doubt that. That dry soil doesn't really have much of a smell, really, and it's only when the moisture gets into it that it releases those smells. And there's all kinds of science around the psychology around that too, and then how that benefits us. The smells of soils that relax us, that make us feel good. That there's something very natural about that. I think that humans kind of really gravitate towards, and it really helps us to kind of, I don't know, to be not to be too. I don't know the term, but just to be one with nature, sort of. We, because it is a big part of nature is a part of our lives, but we often live in more sterile environments in our cities, in our towns, and even just inside of our homes. But to be outside and to simply just smell. Yeah. And when you smell something that's natural, it really helps to literally ground us and make us, feel a part of the world again.
There's a Vietnamese restaurant my wife and I used to go to in Seoul called After the Rain, and it was just so the thought of the smell just after the rain. It always and the restaurant. I mean, it was a nice restaurant, but just the name always stuck with me because of just that thought. And then if you're thinking of I'm eating Vietnamese food after the rain, I'm like, it's all put that all together into a nice little bundle.
Oh, that is a cool name. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, right. So there you go. If you're looking for a restaurant name, folks, it was probably up for grabs. I don't think they'll complain from Seoul. You got a note here. What's happening at the Botanical Garden? Let's get it because there's a queue forming. So let's get this before because we end up running out of time and we never talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you and I were talking before the show that September is next week. It's hard to believe.
Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend is coming this weekend, and how did that happen? At any rate, that doesn't matter at the Botanical Garden. We still have events happening, and on this Thursday is the final Twilight Thursday. So throughout the summer, we have Twilight Thursdays, which means that we're open in the evenings, and we're open until 8. So this is the final one. So if you want to be in the garden in the evening, and I will say, it is a beautiful time to be in the garden. It's a beautiful time to be outside. You know that twilight time of the day when you're outside and everything's generally quieter and the busyness of the day is behind you and you're just strolling through a garden or a natural space or by the water or down by Oxen Pond or do our trails or whatnot. It's just a lovely time. And I don't know if it's been mentioned before, but the Botanical Garden has kayaks now in Oxen Pond, and you can actually rent a kayak.
I saw a pic. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So you can get a kayak. There's tandems there, so you can get 2 people in the one kayak, and there'll be somebody there, of course, to make sure everything's safe. And you get to go out on the pond. So be out on the pond in the evening. It's just beautiful. At the same Twilight Thursdays, there's a tree identification walk with Josh Yelik, who was in here a couple of times in the past. So he's now part of our team at the Botanical Garden. And Josh came to us because of some funding that we got through the federal government's 2 billion tree program. And Josh is all about trees. So he's going to be leading a walk that starts at 5:30 on Thursday at the Botanical Garden. Ooh. So you just come and walk around the garden. It's a nice stroll through the garden, and Josh will tell you all he knows, and there's a lot about about the trees that we grow at the garden. At the same time, we've been doing a music in the garden and that same nights throughout the summer. And from 5:30 to 7:30 this week is Tamsin Russell and Than Brown. And so a couple of musicians, they'll be set up somewhere in the garden. You'll hear them, you'll find them. And that's a nice thing, too, walking through the garden. You don't have to sit down, and, it's not a concert as such. They're in the garden, and you'll hear their music as you stroll around through the garden. So that's quite a lovely experience, too. Nice. And so that's Thursday. And on Friday, September the 5th, so not this Friday, but the next Friday, there's a booze and botany. So we've been doing those throughout the year. And this one is all about ciders and rattlers. So you'll get to drink a cider and or rattler. And walk around the garden on tour. So someone will, and I think it's Todd Boland who'll be taking the tour around, and Todd will be
he's taking the bullet for that one.
Yeah, he's taking the bullet for that one. Yes, yeah. And then the next day, the 6th of September, is our Friends of the Garden plant sale.
Already?
So I know. Yeah, it seems like
we just had the spring one.
We just had the spring one. Yeah. I know, it's hard to believe. Yeah. But that's the 6th of September, and that's in the nursery, which is directly across the road from the main entrance to the garden. And I want to remind folks that that's a cashless sale. So they'll have the taps there and the cards only. So it just makes it a lot faster, I think. And the plant collections that they've amassed this summer is just, again, another incredible collection of rhododendrons, heaths and heathers, trees and shrubs and perennials and alpine plants and shade-loving plants and just quite a bit of everything. That same day, there's a compost talks if you want to learn about backyard composting at 1 o'clock. That's 1 o'clock on the Saturday, and I'll be actually doing that one. So if you want to come and meet me or come and learn a bit about composting, 1 o'clock on that same day. So that's what's happening, you know, over the next couple of weeks. And I just want to remind folks too that we have fall hours, so we adjust our hours. And on Wednesday, September the 3rd, we are 9:30 to 4 o'clock.
All right.
Okay.
Fall hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hard to believe.
We're here.
I know.
All right.
Yeah.
Check out Jackie Feltham sent in this picture. So just take a look. And Jackie's on the line right now.
Wow.
Hi, Jackie. How you doing?
Not too bad, thank you, and you?
Good. You know, appreciating the rain that's been falling.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, thanks. That's a lovely picture.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That Japanese maple.
That's not my Japanese maple, but I was gifted a beautiful one for my birthday. Very generous gift.
Wow.
And I've got the spot in the garden picked out for it. That happens to be a round perennial garden in the middle of our large backyard. So it's easy to place.
Right.
And I dug up the whole garden this summer because it got grown over weeds and stuff.
Right.
So that will go right in the middle, I think. But I like the rock formation underneath. Would I be taking any chances if I tried to create that sort of?
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. I mean, that's the rocks really just actually help to accent the tree, and you can see what they've done there.
They certainly will, yes.
Yeah. And in that picture that you sent, they've actually raised it up, so it actually makes the tree even a little more prominent, and it kind of looks like it's planted on the top of a mountain almost, you know.
Okay, I was trying to figure that out. So the roots aren't totally buried, is that correct?
Now, the roots are definitely in the soil underneath, and you know, trees have that ability to send their roots wherever they want them to go, and sometimes
I'm not taking a chance with a valuable tree like that.
Yeah, that's right. But certainly, even though there's rocks there, more than likely the roots from that plant has gone even under those rocks and kind of just anchored themselves. No different than a tree in our wild would do. The same sort of thing. It's going to kind of snake itself through the soil and find the best pockets of soil, and if you've got good, decent, you know, general soil, because it is a maple after all.
Actually,
even though
I bought pickup load of Cruise triple mix.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, triple mix is always a great soil base for your garden because it's got.
And for anyone's information, with the rain of even the shower we had a couple of weeks ago, there wouldn't no weeds grew out of it. But the compost I got at the city landfill, there's weeds growing up out of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, weeds are just a part of gardening, aren't they? You know, it's kind of one of those things.
They are, but
I know.
Obviously, the triple mix is composted better, obviously.
Yeah, right, yeah. And you know, compost in general has to get super hot in order to kill seeds. You know, so that's the thing about composting. It's that, and sometimes really large piles are a little bit more difficult. It has to be turned quite regularly and that sort of thing in order to build up that microbial level that helps to break down the soil and then helps to build up the heat while it's doing that. And it's the heat that can potentially, you know, destroy weed seeds. But you know, generally those weeds are, you know, they're superficial in the sense that they're on the surface, and if you get them when they're early, just get them super early, and don't let them get established. So that's often the mistake, is that we put down soil.
That was the result of me not being healthy enough to tend it for 4 years. So
right, yeah, and you know, it's amazing how quickly the garden starts to lose its balance of, you know, of the plants that you put in there. With the surroundings, because what happens is that nature starts to take things back very quickly, and gardens are we build gardens to make them great grow spaces for our choice plants. That also makes them really great choice places for weeds and other problems as well. So
we're trying to fight Mother Nature constantly.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And sometimes she wins.
Absolutely, I think eventually she will win, no matter what. Yeah. Okay,
so basically back to the rocks that are around the base. Should I keep a bit away from the trunk, like a couple inches or so?
Yeah, well, yes, for sure, yeah. Give that, because you would need a few inches for sure. At the Botanical Garden, for instance, Jackie, we have a beautiful rock garden, and our rock garden is just that. It's in some cases very large boulders that have been placed by backhoes and that sort of thing. And in the older part of the rock garden, it was actually built by hand back in the 70s. So if you're ever at the Botanical Garden, you'll know which section is the newest and when is the oldest, based on the size of the rocks. But there are plants then planted between those rocks, and so some of them are more softer, like herbaceous perennials. But there are also some trees as well, trees and shrubs, and trees that climb along the ground, and shrubs, like spireas and or even cotoneasters and things that kind of spread their branches along on the ground. But there are also some more upright ones.
I got a cotoneaster that needs a home, so that'll work in between the rocks.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so just make sure that there's a little bit of room between the rocks and the trunk for air circulation, and don't plant it any deeper than it's already been planted. You don't want to bury that stem anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and water it well, of course, once it's first in there.
Oh, that's been watered ever since. I was waiting for a couple wet days actually before I actually dug the hole to plant it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't want to put it in the soil as dry as it is.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a wise move or not, but I kept watering it in the pot.
Oh no, it needs to be watered for sure, and it's been so dry. I have a lot of sort of I'm not a bonsai artist, but at home I have a few trees in a kind of a bonsai fashion in small pots, and they really soak up that moisture. And during this summer heat, it was a real challenge to keep them wet. Yeah, almost daily for some of them, depending on how shallow the pot is. Some of them are almost grown in like pan type containers, more wide than tall, and they were almost a daily watering on the super hot days. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks, and we'll let you get on to some other callers.
Happy belated birthday, Jackie.
Okay, thank you, Tim. See you.
Bye. All right, so there we go. It was a great pick. That's really cool for Jackie to have that in the backyard with the Japanese maple, the rock garden kind of set up like that. It's
there's something about the concept of bonsaiing something or growing it in a sense that it looks like it's a miniature version of a large tree, right? And that's all about scale. And there's a real balance of plant to container and to Jackie's case to gardens and rocks and that sort of thing. It's all about trying to find the right rocks. And like if I was to suggest anything to Jackie, would be to kind of find interesting rocks. Yeah. Just, not rocks that you uncovered because they're kind of bland and usually not terribly interesting. Yeah. That Newfoundland is filled with rocks that are just sitting on top of the ground, and I like to find them that have lichen growing on them, for instance, and just interesting indentations in the rocks. It kind of gives that real sense of maturity, and it gives that sense that it's been there for a long time. And so when you place those around a choice plant like a Japanese maple, it really gives that sense that this looks like it's been growing for a long time. Oh, and throw some moss in there too, and all of a sudden you're like, no, this is starting to look pretty great. And then you start when you walk by it, you get those feelings that we were talking about earlier about how when it rains and how the soil gives off those smells and how it makes us feel, We one time went to it was a 19th century building that was a restaurant in Japan. Mm-hmm. And so they had the garden was from the 1800s. Oh, wow. Still in existence. Wow. And it was raining. So you was there eating lunch and like, okay, the world could be like, this is pretty great. I know. Right? Just watching and smell, like the smell of the moss, the rain coming down, having this really nice lunch. And you're like, and this has been a garden since the late 1800s. Wow. And certainly a lot of the Japanese style is a simple design, isn't it? It's very, not a lot of components, but they're placed very, very carefully between the plants and the rocks and the sand. And, sometimes there's patterns in the sand and the gravel. And then there's often very limited numbers of hardscaping in the landscape. You may have an archway, you may have a bench, something like that. There's usually moss growing somewhere. It's that real sense that you're in a very, very natural space. Even though it's a built space, it feels very natural because of the elements that you use to create it. Yeah. Richard Whitaker's on the line. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I'm having a lazy day indoors because of the rain.
There you go. That's good. I mean, lazy days are nice. I call them, my wife and we call them slug days on Saturdays. We don't do anything.
Anyway, what I wanted to mention was that I'm thinking myself that I've been doing some odds and sods because of what's going on around us, engaging in the full fire smart project, and I've got fir trees and spruce trees, 40, 50 feet tall, some of them not very far from the house, and some of those are going to have to come out.
Yeah.
You may even have that at the Botanic Park in the back of the building. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we had a major meeting actually, Dick, a few weeks ago when the fires were raging in other parts of the province, and it really concentrated our thoughts into, well, what would the Botanical Garden do if the forest caught fire?
Yeah.
We pride ourselves in being a botanical garden within the boreal forest, and it actually it's kind of unique, really, because a lot of botanical gardens are inner city gardens, and they're surrounded by the city, but we are within the forest, and so it's definitely a concern for us, and it's also something that we don't really want to alter too much because it's part of our charm and it's part of our uniqueness. But at the same time, we have to find that balance. So that's what we're working toward now going forward is how do we make sure that the Botanical Garden will be protected if there is a fire that comes close, and how do we maintain the beautiful natural space that we have. So it is a bit of a conundrum sometimes, because if you take away too much, then you take away the feeling and the charm and that beautiful uniqueness that we have. But if you don't take it away, you lose everything because of a fire. So
exactly, it's sort of a hard one to win.
Yeah.
But partly what I was calling about related to that is that then you have to or think about engaging in alternate plantings.
That's right. Yeah.
And what to plant and so on, and even amongst those. Well, if you look around town, you'll find that people have these columnar cedars and so on right against their houses.
That's right, yeah.
But that no longer is probably appropriate, but anyway. Yeah. What I'm thinking about is the kinds of relatively low tree species and so on that I can plant within that, that 30-foot circle.
Mm-hmm.
And also then, of course, graduating down with something lower and lower and lower.
That's right. Yeah, and the beauty of modern horticulture is that there's a lot of variety of plant types out there in terms of their just their makeup, whether it's an evergreen, whether it's a deciduous plant, and also the tall, medium, short, even low growing. Flowering versus cone-bearing plants and things. So there's quite a wide variety, and so that you have a lot of options. The biggest challenge with that for all of us is that when you make changes like that, they're very stark at first because you have to take down some significant trees that have been there for a long, long time, and we've lived under these trees and with these trees for a long time, and it's a really difficult thing to kind of take them away. But if you think about it from the perspective of safety, well, safety has to win because if the tree poses a major risk for our properties, for our own health, and that sort of thing, then it's kind of a no-brainer. But there are some great options out there as replacements, and sometimes too it's nice to kind of remodel. And sometimes it takes something like we've had this year in order to remind us of the importance of that.
Some of those short maples that you were just talking about might suit.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking while I'm talking to you, my mind is in gear, as you know, but fruit trees.
Yeah, of course.
It just came to me, well, you might as well get something out of it.
Absolutely,
And the flowering parts of those are really pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. The cherries, the apples, beautiful floral displays in the springtime.
I'm solving my problem while I'm talking.
There you go.
We got to talk it through. We got to talk it through together, Mr. Whitaker. That's how we do it. You call in, we have a good yak, and then you figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it might be all right if to your own area, if the Botanic Garden actually started to put together a list for people or something like that. Because we all, I live in Portugal Cove, St. Phillips, as you know, or probably know, and we're really, we're a mix of wild forest and everything else, so.
Yeah.
So, it's not an option. We've got to deal with it. And,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that the evergreens are a lot more, they ignite a lot more, a lot faster, and they have a lot of fuel in them.
Especially when they're
so
dry.
more BTUs coming from them once they.
Yeah, and so if we try and blend in, a mix of, I mean, we can't take evergreens out of our landscape altogether because they are that beautiful contrast between the conifers, and especially because we live in a northern climate where we have more than half the year where everything is dormant. It's really important to have those evergreens because they give that permanency and that winter interest as well.
But one of the things that the advantage of the trees around us is a good windbreak.
Windbreaks,
that reduces your heating cost. Never mind anything else.
That's right. Yeah.
And probably the opposite in the summer, cooling.
That's true. Yeah.
Shaded and so on, whatever.
Yeah.
I just want to put it on the table for other people to think about. Now is the time to plan what you're going to do, get at it, and take out what you need to take out, and have a plan for what you're going to do with it. And get on. Some of you can plant this fall. Yeah. But a lot of it you're going to have to. Figure it out for the spring.
And I think too that it's important to mention that it doesn't all have to be done in one season. That sometimes the clear cut would be too stark and too hard to live with. So if you do it over time, and it's not as great a shock then to your landscape and to yourselves and to your living, and so you take a few this year. If you have a lot of them, you take one or two out and you replace them with some of the plants we just talked about, or whatever it is that you feel that you want to grow. And that way,
I get off the phone because I'm concerned that people have other kinds of things.
But it's a great conversation, though. Thanks for starting that. And the other thing to mention too is that a lot of nurseries actually have sales in the fall.
That's true.
End of season, and they have oftentimes trees are a big part of that. So just keep that in mind too.
Oh, okay. Take care now.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Whitaker there, calling from Portugal Cove, St. Phillips. Here's a text. Good morning. Sending along a question today for the gardening show. My sister gave me a hosta earlier this summer, but told me to be careful about it because there may be goutweed in it.
Right.
I've had it in the greenhouse all summer, and it's growing well, but it has some brown spots on the leaves. Is it too late to plant now? That's from Priscilla.
Not at all. And I would say the brown spots on the leaves is because it's been in the greenhouse. Yeah. They really don't like that heat, but the person was probably keeping it in the greenhouse to avoid, if it had goutweed, that it doesn't spread somewhere else. So fair enough. It's going to survive. Hostas are one of the toughest plants in the garden. I love them for that reason, and I love the variety of them too, because there's everything from very large leaf plain green ones to the tiniest little one we have one called mouse ears, which is so tiny that we keep it in our alpine house. It's just only like 3 or 4 inches off the ground. Wow. And everything in between, different colors, varieties, kind of blue greens and variegated leaves. If there has not been any goutweed showing in that pot since she's been growing this in all the summer, then there's a good chance that it's not there.
Good.
So she lucked out. So I would plant that outside now wherever they want it to be. Again, it's a pretty tough plant. You can even divide it. I divided one just a few days ago and just separated it and moved it. They're really forgiving plants, really tough plants. So yeah.
Amy Evans is on the line from St. John's. Hi.
Hi, also a goutweed question.
All right.
But it's good news. Basically, because it's been so hot and dry, I've managed to make headway at the easement of the back of my property has like a goutweed section. Right. And I'm about 2 to 3 feet dug up into it at the boundary of my property. Wow. And it hasn't been coming back. And I think I've done a good job getting all the little pieces out of it. Right. So I'm wondering what to do next, if I should get something else in there or if I should leave it
I would suggest leaving it just because it's not enough time yet to know whether there's any bits still left in the soil. And if they're going to grow up, it'd be much easier to deal with them with nothing else in the bed, as opposed to coming up between something that you've planted. Then you're back to that challenge again of its roots are getting intermingled with your choice roots. So if you could leave it I would leave it until next spring, tell you the truth, if that's a possibility. I know that sometimes when we do a lot of work in a garden, we are doing it for the purpose of renewing the space.
Beautification.
We're very eager to get our plants in there.
I don't actually know what I even want to put in. It didn't even seem possible to me before the summer that I could get it all out there. Yeah. So I don't really have a plan of what's going to go there. So I could certainly leave it.
Yeah. And so do you think that the dry, hot weather benefited you in terms of being able to, not out doing the work, because I know it's pretty warm when you're gardening, especially digging in hot weather. But in terms of getting the roots of the plants out, was it an easier task, do you think, because the soil was so dry?
Yeah, absolutely. My garden is normally I spend all summer just trying to keep the goutweed out of my garden, and it's a lot of weeding. And so this summer I just had to water all the time, and I didn't weed anything until I realized I could weed that part that was causing the problem. So, so good for that.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. You know, I did hear, and I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard a few people say that geranium, there's a geranium called geranium macrorhizum, or big leaf geranium. Or it's got this, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's a scent leaf geranium, it's also commonly called. And it's an old plant that's been grown in Newfoundland. It's not native, but it's been grown in Newfoundland gardens for many, many years. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, does it have like kind of a smaller pinky flower, or
yes, it
like
does.
A small flower?
Yeah. It is a pink flower that's held just above the leaves in the late spring, like early summer, and it's a ground cover basically. And I've heard people say that it actually competes really well with goutweed, that it produces such a mat of foliage and roots that the goutweed struggles to survive in and amongst this plant. So. I'm really interested in that story. I haven't seen it to prove it, but
it's like a superhero story. This is the next Marvel movie. That's what
we're talking about. That's a big deal.
I can weigh in on that actually, because I have some in my garden, and it is in an area that the goutweed has never been in.
Wow. So do you think the goutweed never?
I'm putting it.
Yeah. Do you think the goutweed is not there because the geranium is there, or that it's just a stroke of luck, or is it keeping out the goutweed, do you think?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never. It's not adjacent this super goutweed area, but the garden used to all be. When I moved in, it was all goutweed and definitely and knotwood. So it's been a long journey.
But you're slowly reclaiming the space. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and you know what? We talk a lot about goutweed on this show, right? All the guests. Adam, you right?
But this is like, I'm just thinking of the movie trailer, like in a land of goutweed, there is hope.
That's right. We'll have to do some sort of drawing with a geranium with a cape of some sort.
This is the story we need right now. This hope with goutweed, with A.B. talking about it. This is great.
Yeah.
The other thing that was suggested to me actually was rhubarb.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if either of you have heard of that.
I could see how rhubarb would work as well, just because of the large leaves. And so what the rhubarb would do was it would create this basically umbrella over the soil, and then the light is not reaching the soil, and so therefore anything that tries to grow underneath it is not going to get photosynthesized, and therefore it will not do well. And you know there's but then how much you don't want to use you don't want a backyard filled with rhubarb. Generally we have our small little patch of rhubarb, or there's no such thing as a small patch of rhubarb, but a patch of rhubarb. And for the most part, rhubarb patches are generally weed free for that reason, just because of the size of the plant and the big leaves. So I would say that would work, but of course it has a limited use in the landscape.
Yeah. It could be a geranium rhubarb combo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there
sure.
you go. Yeah. Maybe we're onto something. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for the call, Amy.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like movie titles, like The Gardener Strikes Back, Revenge
right,
of the
yeah.
Gardener. Like, I don't know. There's lots of stuff we could do here.
Oh, there's tons.
Yeah. This is, it's gardening day here on The Signal. I'm Adam Walsh. Tim Walsh is with me, nursery manager, MUN Botanical Garden. If you want to, you want some tips, you want to talk about how you're battling goutweed, if you want to give us a garden update, Newfoundland and Labrador, we're here for you. 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. You can text us, 709-327-8206, The Signal at cbc.ca. Jeff Meeker sent a note. Hi, Jeff. We all no doubt have the same question. Is there a quick fix for those very dead patches of lawn? Can I toss grass seed on it and hope for the best? Would clover seeds have a better chance of growing, or do we need to tear it all up and start over?
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess the question it's a great question from Jeff. The question I would have is it dry because of the drought? Or is it dry because of some other reason? Or is it dead, because of some other reason? So, and for the most part, anything that looks dead because of the drought is actually just semi-dormant. It's one of the things that, I think the rest of the country experiences all the time every summer, but we rarely do because we've never had dry conditions like this before. Grass has that ability that when the moisture pulls back away from it, which happens in summer, most other places, like I just said, that the plant actually pulls down into itself in a sense that it starts to shut down because it can't support the leaves because there's not enough moisture, and its roots go dormant and the tops die off. But the plants underneath, if we think about a lawn, which it actually is like millions of tiny little plants all kind of grown together, that they have that ability to do that. It's going to be interesting to watch the lawns now that we've gotten some rain and over the next little while and see how they green up, and whether it was a healthy enough lawn to withstand that long of a drought period. And so that's one thing. And hopefully, I think for the most part, they'll all repair. I think that's just a natural process. If Jeff was experiencing dead patches before this, then there's probably some other reason why. And there's lots of different reasons why you can have dead patches. If you have a dog, for instance, there's lots of circular dead patches from pee and that sort of thing. You may have had an insect infestation. You could have had something spilled there. You could have had some backyard renovations. Lots of different reasons that lawns could have died. If it's dead, then yes, there's two things you can do. If it's a very small patch, then you can literally just with a fork just drive that fork down into the sod. You're aerating that section and work in a little bit of grass fertilizer, maybe even just a tiny little top dress of topsoil. And if it's only a small patch, like the size of, this sheet of paper that I'm holding here, this, 8.5 by 11, just a small little patch, what'll likely happen is that the surrounding grass will just grow back in there and it will fill that in. And so next year that patch is green again. If it's larger, however, and it may be more of a visual negative, that you may have to think about, literally taking up that dead sod and putting in some fresh topsoil there and reseeding. And that's a simple process too. It's just a matter of again, you're creating a nice bed there for some new seed to germinate, reestablish, and then just start to connect with the existing grass. So, and now's actually a pretty good time to do that because we're moving into the fall. The heat of the summer is gone. Even though it's just last week we were having high temperatures, but there's no doubt that we've shifted now to more general, end of August or September temperatures. It's a perfect time to grow grass now in Newfoundland. It's actually the time, one of the best times. Spring is a good time too, but spring comes with that fluctuations of temperatures and water and that sort of thing. And then you're moving into the summer. So in the spring, you have to make sure that your grass is established well before the summer heats come. Yeah. But in the fall, it's a lot more better, gentler time to do that. And so dig up those patches, get the old sod off, work in some good topsoil, and then get some good quality seed. And it doesn't matter whether it's whether it's grass or whether it's clover. The only thing to think about is that if you don't have like a 100% clover lawn right now, and you put down a circle of clover seed, then that's going to be pretty obvious. It's going to look like like a Dalmatian out there if you do it in 4 or 5 different places. But if there's clover mixed in with the existing lawn, you can definitely go to your garden center and get grass mixes that have clover and grass in a balanced mix.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and you can spread them out there. And the one thing about clover too is that it holds its green for a lot longer period. So actually, clover is not a bad thing to have in your summer lawn, because when the droughts happen, the clover has the ability to hold on to moisture a lot better than the grass does. So you'll have that green despite the drought. So. But the other thing to do as well, if you just wanted to have the grass, just put the grass seed back there as well. And even, depending on your lawn, again, you could even go out, and a lot of nurseries actually sell sod. So they have sod there from the sod companies, and you can just go and buy a couple of rolls of sod and bring it home and cut it to the shape and drop it in place, and like an instant lawn. So there's lots of options that Jeff's got there. And it's just a matter of choosing the one that works best for them.
Bill is on the line from Corner Brook. Hello.
Hello, how are you today, Adam?
Good. How's Corner Brook doing today?
Corner Brook is good. A little bit rainy out here. A lot of rain overnight, but it's very warm.
Right.
Very warm.
That's great.
It's nice. It's kind of humid,
Yeah.
Adam, the question I have a clematis. It grows great, but it won't bloom. I'm wondering if I'm doing something wrong and not fertilizing it enough, or what fertilizer I would need and when to apply that.
Okay. So you've been growing it for a few years, have you, Bill?
I've been in the house 10 years, but the clematis was here when I bought the house, so I have no idea how old it is.
Wow. And it's never bloomed for you?
In one summer, I had one bloom on it once.
Wow. And what time?
It will grow up to the roof of my house.
Wow. And what time of the year did it bloom? Was it a spring, midsummer?
Midsummer.
Midsummer bloom. Okay. Wow. And where is it growing? It grows fairly tall. Is it in full sun, or is it in a shady area? Somewhere in between?
In between.
In between, okay. That certainly should be enough. Well, I mean, that's a little bit of a mystery, because generally clematis, once they establish themselves, once you got a nice foliage, a nice large top, let's say, then that's all really it needs. Obviously, it needs decent soil, but it sounds like it's got decent soil, or it wouldn't be growing that tall. Yeah. Have you done any pruning on it in the past?
No, the only thing I do with it is when it dies back, I get rid of the dead stuff, right?
Okay, so do you take it right down to the ground, or do you take it back to the trellis, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the clematis can certainly do with fairly significant prunings, and there's definitely some of the more finer parts of some of the varieties, like some of the clematis. Can take a little bit more of a harder pruning than others, but for the most part, they can all take a general pruning, and that's take away about half of the height of that plant each year would definitely be fine. And what that does is it stimulates new growth, and then the new growth is where the flowers come. The flowers always come on new growth with clematis. It doesn't bloom on the oldest woody bits. If you notice, what happens each year is that the woody bits survive the winter, and then next year you'll get new green stems and leaves that come off of what's left, and it will grow from there. So it does benefit from removing quite a significant portion of that, because what that does is it stimulates all this new growth, and it's going off in all directions, and then that's where the flowers will come from. And outside of that, then the only other thing that you could do a bit more regularly is to feed it. However, it's too late for that now, this time of year. You don't want to be feeding it now, but it's something to think about next spring. And it can be just a general high phosphorus fertilizer. So if you're familiar with fertilizers, there's generally those 3 macronutrients, and they're represented in numbers on the fertilizer container, whether it's a bottle, a bag, whatever it comes in. and they represent nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. They're always in that order. The first one is always nitrogen, the second one's phosphorus, the third one's potassium. And so for instance, if we feed something too much nitrogen, that first number, you'll get lots and lots of leaves because that's what nitrogen does. But it will not give you the flowers. And the middle number is where you get the flower production, and that's from phosphorus. And the phosphorus is actually what stimulates flower development, and also root development as well. And potassium is that last number, and that's best for like overall disease resistance and plant health. So you need to look for a fertilizer that is higher in that middle number. And you can even simply find flowering. You can go to a nursery and tell them what your problem is, and they'll say, "Oh, well, this is what we got. It's a perennial flowering fertilizer, and it's usually higher in that middle number." And it's recommended to get it on there earlier in the season because what that does is that it allows it to get to the roots early in the season, and it stimulates that growth, and then it focuses that phosphorus on flower production.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's not something you would do now. It's going to be September next week, and those plants are going to start to think about slowing down now, and you don't want them to produce any flowers now because it's too late in the season and they probably wouldn't mature, and you'd have soft growth going into the winter. So it's something to put on your calendar for next spring. Yeah, definitely next spring. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, folks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
Thanks, Adam.
All right, have a great day. All right, so there you go, call from Corner Brook, and I was just looking clematis online. Gorgeous plants.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and clematis are vines, right? So they
10 to 20 feet or something.
Yeah, depending on the variety. Yeah, they can go for quite a distance. Some people grow them on trellises, on arbors, on fences. Some people just let them plant them at the top of a wall and just let them fall down over the wall. Even so, there's lots of great options. There's some that bloom very, very early in the spring, and then some that are just coming into bloom now. So there's quite a wide variety, and the color forms are there. There's one of my favorite ones is I think it's called Virginiana, Clematis virginiana, and it's a white flowering variety, and just a simple white flower, but it's a really strong plant. And if you want something that gives you privacy, that's gonna cover a trellis between, let's say, you and your neighbor or something like that, or just to give you that beautiful sense of exotic feeling in the garden. This thing, and then there's another yellow one called I think it's called Tangutica, and it's a yellow flowered, simple yellow flower that kind of droops down a little bit, and it's usually a spring bloom. But what's beautiful about that particular variety is after the flower finishes, then it produces what I think it's even more attractive, which is the seed head. That there's like little mop heads that are kind of that chartreusey green, shiny color that are incredibly interesting in the landscape too, and they last all summer long.
Yeah, I'm just looking at them here now. Yeah. And the Virginiana, I mean, if you're thinking of like a backyard wedding to have that kind of thing, perfect.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. It is a plant that needs to be watched. So like going back to our previous caller with Bill, this one definitely needs to be pruned. It'll take over if you don't prune it. So, but in our climate, it's not going to be a problem. But it does require regular pruning for sure.
Got an update from Jackie here. So the goutweed versus rhubarb discussion continues.
Oh, yes.
So Jackie said a note further to the discussion. I had a neighbor whose rhubarb was taken over by goutweed. Similarly, my current neighbor is battling goutweed in his rhubarb patch. So the battle rages on. Yeah.
And it's I think the rhubarb. I don't think the rhubarb will succumb to the goutweed. They'll probably coexist, but the problem is that it just becomes this space where your goutweed is living and in and amongst your choice plant, and it'll just radiate out into some of the other plants, because rhubarb's got such a deep root system, and it's such a strong plant, and the goutweed is also a strong plant, but it doesn't have the same depth of root. It's just a few inches under the surface of the soil. But yeah. I think maybe the geranium is the the winner for the
so far, right?
far,
And if you know anything else, folks, get in touch with us. We got a note from a colleague of yours with the Phoenix Garden Project, Jan.
Oh, Jan.
Hooray to you both for your wonderful show today. Well, thank you. Hats off to Tim for sharing his expertise as a volunteer on Mondays with the Phoenix Garden Project inside HMP. The guys who participate in this program are all listening in and learning to the show on the show, and they'd be excited to report that their tomato plants produced 38 baseball-sized tomatoes in 1 week. They were used in salad at HMP. During the drought, we placed aluminum lasagna pans under each of the pots, and that's made a difference to our tomato production. Keep up the great work.
That's great. Yeah. So Jan is one of I think there's 8 or maybe 10 of us now that go to the HMP, His Majesty's Penitentiary, each Monday. 2 of us go each Monday, so we kind of spread ourselves out a little bit. And we work with the inside gardeners, the members who are part of the Phoenix Gardening Group, and we teach them all about horticultural. We use horticulture as a therapy because it's a no-brainer, really. I mean, horticulture. That's why I got into it, because I just love how it made me feel, and I was fortunate enough to be able to develop a career around that. But yeah, the guys are amazing. They are so super into what we're doing, and they really appreciate it. They're so attentive when we go there. And we have a greenhouse there, and we grow quite a wide variety of things. Oh, and I have to say that the last time I was at HMP, one of the members there had an amaryllis, and we gave them all amaryllis just before Christmas, and they got to bring it to their rooms and grow this amaryllis in their space. And you can imagine the benefits that plant is giving individuals who are incarcerated, and they get to care for this plant, and it's wonderful. And it flowered, but now it's not flowering, but the leaves are still growing. So I wanted to just expound a little bit on that. So amaryllis are plants that are ready to flower when you get them, and they come around November, and they're usually sold for Christmas decorations, that sort of thing. And they've done everything in the nursery to prepare them, so they come dry usually in this shelf or in a box. You put it in a pot, it immediately sends out this huge, impressive stalk, and it puts out these beautiful flowers. And if you time it right, they're blooming around Christmas. I usually delay mine because I think there's enough decoration around Christmas. I like to have these blooms coming out in like January when
that's
everything's
far
gone
better.
away.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But then the flowers are gone, and then the question was, well, what do you do with it? Well, you kind of have to simulate what had happened before you bought it, which was that it was grown, it was fertilized, it got the sun's energy, and it built up that energy to flower again in that bulb, and then the plant goes dormant. So during the summertime, in the places that grow these plants in the fields, for instance, in Holland, and this is amaryllis is actually a South American plant, that the plants go dormant, and that's when they're dug. They're dug up then, and they're sorted, and they're boxed, and they're sold, and then they're ready to flower. So as a homeowner in St. John's, Newfoundland, or a person growing this plant on your window ledge, that's what you got to do. You have to actually let the sun get at those leaves or some bright light of some sort. You got to fertilize it. You got to build up that energy, and then you got to pull back on the water and slowly not water them and force them into that dormancy. And when you start to see the leaves starting to yellow, then completely stop watering. They'll drop all those leaves eventually. They'll go quiet for a while, and then in probably October and November, you take that out of the soil, knock away all the old soil, repot it into fresh soil, start watering it, and if everything has worked out well, it'll repeat all that again.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What I think is, given the 25 seconds we have left, the final word on today, texted with a pic. I have scented geraniums, and they will definitely take over or restrict gout weed. And we've got 2 pics here. So that's the pics for scented geraniums and also Virginia creeper for privacy.
Oh yeah. Those are great picks. Yeah, those are 2 great plants. Yeah, the scented geranium creates such a tight mat. It's an amazing plant, so cool. And the beautiful spring flowers, and it's got a nice smell too when you rub up against it.
thanks again for this. It's great.
Oh, it's a great pleasure.
Lots of talking.
Yeah,
Lots
nice
of,
to talk gardening. Yeah.
Yeah, and then success against goutweed is a good
go.
place to leave it on. All right, Tim Walsh there. Thank you. Thank you, folks, for listening. Tomorrow on the show, we have a doctor, a computer scientist, and an English professor all coming in to talk about artificial intelligence and research. What role does AI play? What's the difference between the help it can give research and some of the hype that's out there? Tomorrow only on The Signal.